Tony D and Little Joan somewhere in the house, and this is a screenwriter's rant on Fly Me to the Moon, starring Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson in a bizarre romantic comedy that simultaneously, I think, rewrites the history of NASA. But yeah, I'm not. Did the Marvel guys write this? Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy Heart in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 14. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. Yeah, this is a really odd movie. The tone is odd, right? So you've seen movies about NASA before. You've seen Apollo. This is an Apple movie, by the way. And it's a romantic comedy, essentially. But normally, they're not comedies, number one. But normally, when you make a movie about the moon landing, you tend to make it about the astronauts and the people who helped that, not about a woman who did the marketing for NASA. As if without her, NASA never would have happened. Because that's the tone of this movie. It's like Scarlett Johansson really ran the show behind the scenes. Oh, yeah, you know. There were men who had spent years as Air Force pilots and scientists. But really, it was this hot marketing agent who really, if without her, NASA never would have happened. I mean, we just wouldn't, the Soviets would have taken over the country. Like, what? So, but it's a comedy, so you could kind of forgive that wacky premise. But it's not very funny. It's kind of funny like Marvel does comedy. Like, it's kind of like, oh, that's amusing, I guess. If you're a little kid. And they have a gay director trope running around in this thing, too. It says exclusively in theaters this July. The opening piece of this is terrible, in my view. So Channing Tatum comes into a place, sees Scarlett Johansson, who's already like, okay, buddy, leave me alone. I'm a hot chick. Everybody hits on me. Like that attitude. And then he says, your book is on fire. And then she says, or you're on fire, he says. And she goes, oh, that's a unique one. Ha, ha, ha. No, literally, your book is on fire. And then her book is on fire because she's reading too close to a candle, I guess, in a diner. And then she uses alcohol to put it out. And is apparently too stupid to not know that alcohol would be the wrong thing to throw on a fire. And then it makes the fire worse, and he has to take off his jacket to put it out. And that's the meet cute part of this? Unless they reveal later she did that on purpose in order so he could save her. But then it cuts to, NASA's in trouble. NASA's in very big trouble. Oh, it's a boondoggle. They're ready to cut the funding. What? Yeah, I'm sure a few people were like, it seems like we're spending a lot of money on this. And some do argue that NASA was a boondoggle in that, optically it was a victory, but in terms of stuff we actually got from the moon, it wasn't much. It's more of an optics thing than anything else. Although now we're leaning towards something bigger. Because they're talking about building a train and a base and then going to Mars. But this is way before that. This is the early 60s. And apparently, oh my gosh, the NASA's in big trouble. But good thing they invited the ladies in, because the ladies know everything in Hollywood. It's a good thing they invited Scarlett Johansson to save the day. This is the premise of the movie. Like, look, if it's going to be a romantic comedy set in this era, cool, but I feel like this is really stretching credulity here. And credulity. Your credibility is really stretched, I'm trying to say. Because, yeah, I don't think NASA was in that. NASA was like the hottest thing ever because people liked space travel. Like, space travel was new. It was very new. We didn't know what was on the moon. We thought maybe there'd be like ancient cities or something. You got to understand the fiction at that time. Nerds loved space. The nerds were all over this. This is why Green Lantern went from being a more of a supernatural powered guy who got his powers from an ancient pyramid to a guy who got him from space, because that was the hot thing. So, and I'm sure some of it's based on some amount of truth, in that I'm sure they had somebody from an advertising agent, but was it even a woman? I don't know. Here, there's a bit where they're going to also fake the moon landing, which is an interesting twist, right? So we're going to do the moon landing, but we're also going to fake it just in case it goes wrong, so we could look good in front of the Russians. That's kind of a funny premise by itself. But then they hire the gayest trope imaginable for this. Oh, he's very gay. The incredibly gay director is going to direct this, as if you would need a director. Do you understand what the guys on the support team for the moon landing figured out? They literally could figure out anything because they were scientists. I'm pretty sure they could have figured out, you know what? Let's fake some moon landing footage just in case. Like, they could have figured that out. I have 100% confidence that those guys would have been, okay, so what we would need is a camera and, like a set. It'll look like the moon, and we'll shoot it at night. I'll read some books on lighting. Like, these guys just devour knowledge. That's the way they work. They would think on the fly, the engineers. They would think of things. They had some problem on the Apollo mission. They figured it out. They used various hoses and whatnot, and taped them all together and saved the astronauts. That's the kind of guys they were. I don't think they'd have to hire a gay director from Hollywood to do it. And you might say, well, this is kind of a rom-com. You're kind of putting it to a high standard. Well, but again, when you're doing comedy, the closer you are to reality, the better the comedy's going to hit. The further you get away, the more it's going to be okay, I guess. And that's the way this hits. It's I guess. So, Ray Romano's in it. But it just seems like a vehicle for Scarlett Johansson to be in a movie with Channing Tatum, be the main character, be in this era, and have it be light and fun. Which I'm not opposed to, but it's kind of all over the map. If you're gonna do a historical thing, do it. If you're not gonna do a historical thing, well, if you're gonna do something that's like a side historical thing, it should be kind of on the side of history, right? To not interfere with history. Otherwise, it feels like you're rewriting the history of the NASA project a little bit. And it makes it less funny because people know about this stuff. I mean, some people do, not everybody. The people who don't know are going to watch this and go, oh, is that what happened? But even they will be like, oh, I don't think it happened this way. So, I don't know. It just seems like a dumb idea. If you wanted to do a sweet romantic comedy in which Scarlett Johansson saves the space program. I think you could have done that in the modern era. I don't think you would have had to go back to this. It just feels very inauthentic, the whole thing. It just feels very contrived to be built around Scarlett Jo. And I like her. I want to see more of her. But not a quirky... Like, who is this movie for? It's not for nerds. Nah, the nerds aren't going to like this. Mm-mm. It's not for comedy people. Nope, won't like that. It feels like a high-end, like the highest-end hotel movie I've ever seen. So, I guess it's for women who happen to be staying at a hotel and have nothing else to watch. Oh, here's the romantic comedy. Click. Sure. You think you're going to get people to go to theaters for this? Have you been to a movie theater? Do you know? Is anyone in Hollywood aware of what people like to go see in a movie in the summer? This is coming out in the summer. It's supposed to be a big movie. Explosions. Things are happening. Holy crap. Like, you got to see a trailer for a summer movie. Like, holy crap. This is like, oh, all right. I guess that's funny. So the comedy's not there. The romance, I don't know. Channing Tatum, he does bring in the ladies, but if you're going to emasculate him so Scarlett Jo can run amok, and it takes place in the early 60s, so he's not going to be running around without his shirt off. Not so sure you needed to spend this kind of money on a movie like this. At best, this is to me, a $15 million flick, and you don't even have to set it in the past. You could kind of set it in the modern era. You could totally 100% do that. The same plot. You could just say, oh, NASA is falling apart. Nobody really cares about NASA anymore. Oh, I'm going to do a marketing campaign, get people back into NASA, and we're going to go to the moon again. Like, you could see that as a 2024, 2025 movie taking place in that era. You could see that. Here, it's, I don't know, just seems, and she goes so far as to recast the people who work at NASA with actors. Yeah, I don't really buying that. It seems like too much. Seems like way too much. Seems like she just takes over NASA. Oh, wow. I'll run it like a woman. See, it's running much better. So, and then the real point of this, I guess, is the romance. I don't know. I don't know if that's the real point of it. Because the focus seems to go off the romance into Scarlett Jo running everything and doing takes. Oh, yeah, the nerds actually landed on the moon, but I saved NASA. We actually landed a man on the moon. Yeah, but I faked it. It looked great without my publicity. Yeah, it's not working for me. The whole thing. So, yeah. I don't know why you greenlight this. I guess it's for women. I guess it's for women to feel like they were part of the moon landing? Is that what it's for? Or just to zone out, oh, I'm going to watch Scarlett Johansson hook up with a hot guy and then go have a box of wine. And maybe that's it. I don't see people rushing to the theaters for this. I really can't. I can't think of a single group of people who would be like, oh, I got to see this. Maybe, like, I'm a Scarlett Johansson fan, but I'm not going, oh, are you nuts? Maybe the Magic Mike fans might come over to this because of the aesthetic and the clothes, I'm guessing. Like, oh, that's kind of a cool aesthetic, and that seems like a fun movie. Maybe, but that fan base kind of is on the wane after the third movie didn't do very well. So this just seems like a poor investment. Poor investment. Is Apple obsessed with flying to the moon? This is like at least the second or third project about this era. The other one in which, remember the TV show where the women were the astronauts for some reason? Like that was that like lasted a few seasons. I couldn't believe it. Oh man, I got some flack for that. I assume I'll get flack for this. Well, flack away in the comments. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Oh, should I do a 3-act breakdown? Do you even need it? All right, first act. Scarlett Johansson meets handsome Channing Tatum. It's very charming. He hits on her. She's like, not really. You seem okay. You seem all right. Well, maybe we'll get together. We'll have some banter. And you can have my phone number, and that's it. All right? Next day, things are going poorly at NASA. And they decide to hire Scarlett Johansson and her assistant to fix everything. And they do. Second act, Channing Tatum is like, what are you doing here? And, I work here now. And then she changes things. And it's awesome. It's awesome, the changes. Here she is putting them in advertisements, putting them on Rice Krispies. And everybody's like, I don't know about this, Scarlett. I don't know. Oh, don't worry. It's all going to work out. And it does. And here she is, a wacky moment where she recast him as, has an actor speak for him. Woody Harrelson saying, we have to beat the Soviets. We have to beat the Soviets. It appears to be the only line he has. Here are the Soviets. This Scarlett Johansson could be a problem. So, then they decide in the third act to fake the moon landing as well as have the moon landing. So that explains why people think we faked it, apparently. Maybe there's been some new news on that. So, we fake the moon landing and do it at the same time. And it all goes well. And then Channing Tatum, there's some crisis. I don't know, some artificial crisis right at the peak of the third, as a third act begins. Oh, I'm going to miss the moon landing. Maybe she gets fired for faking the moon landing. And then, I don't know, here she breaks into a store for some reason. I guess she's just committing crimes. And then the moon landing happens, and she goes back to Channing Tatum, I guess, to probably, if I'm reading this movie correctly, to tell him, I don't need no man, but we can at least have sex. That's my read on the whole thing. Do we have credits on this thing? Not really. So yeah, I want to see who wrote this thing. I got to see who wrote it, because I suspect it's someone connected to the Marvel movies. Fly Me to the Moon, 2023. No, that's the wrong one. Is it Fly Me to the Moon? Oh, here it is. God, there's a bunch of these movies with this title. Marketing maven Kelly Jones wreaks havoc on launch director Cole Davis's already difficult task. When the White House deems the mission too important to fail, Jones is directed to stage a fake moon landing as a backup. Okay. Comedy romance, yeah. Director Greg Berlanti. What did he direct? Let's see. Girls on the Bus found Riverdale. Oh, Red, White, and Royal Blue. Oh, okay. That's a hotel movie, ladies. You know what that movie is. Superman and Lois. All right. Let's see. The writers. Keenan Flynn. Worked with Beyonce on stuff. Seems to be new. Rose Gilroy. I'm just wondering if any of these people worked on the MCU. It doesn't look like it. Feels very MCU, the whole thing. And Bill Kirstein. Mean Girls. This is a writer, I guess. Barry Manilow's A Very Merry Christmas. What credits? I don't know. I'm actually thinking maybe MCU credits would have been a step up. So yeah, Fly Me to the Moon. That's it. I mean, tell me in your comments what you think this is, because I'm very confused. Not getting ratioed, so at least it'll be pleasant to look at. I mean, I don't think it'll be offensive. Like, I don't think you'll watch it and go, God, I hate this movie. I think you'll just watch it and go, all right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D, Little Jones, somewhere in the house. Check me out at the Bear Creek Assisted Living Facility today in just an hour or so. I'm going to be giving my talk on the Jersey Devil for the residents and their families. Then this weekend, 3 big events. You can just look them up. They're in the links. Hope to see you there. We'll see you in the next one.